When I was about 10 years old, one day, me and my family went over to my cousin's house, played around in the yard a little bit, and eventually came inside eager to watch some Hannah Montana. And then suddenly a logo I have never seen before appears on the screen. This was the first time I became familiar with the concept of streaming. My aunt and uncle had decided to cut the cord and get rid of their cable. It's safe to say that I was absolutely appalled by this idea. I remember talking to my mom later and saying something along the lines of, how are they gonna know what the good shows are on? They're not gonna know any of the good shows. Knowing now that streaming was gonna become the norm when it came to watching television, it feels silly to think of a time where I was totally convinced that my cousins were going to be culturally behind because they didn't have cable TV. So with that little story in mind, I decided this week that I'm gonna plug the cord back in and I'm only gonna watch cable TV for a week. No streaming, no social media, pure filtered cable. Do I think this is a groundbreaking activity to do? No, but I think it's a fun little experiment. I'm so reliant on having everything I want to watch immediately. I'm also wondering if switching to cable TV will have an effect on my mental health at all, which sounds like a stupid sentence to say with my mouth. But I feel like recently I've been having some issues with feeling overstimulated and uninspired when it comes to using my phone and what I'm watching. There's one thing I want to explain about this experiment though. I'm not going to be getting cable installed in my house. I thought about it for like 1 second, but then I realized it's still stupid expensive to get cable installed. And also usually you have to be locked into like a 2-year contract, which I'm not really wanting to do. My workaround for this is my dad has YouTube TV, so I'm just going to be using only the YouTube TV cable section. It really is just cable, but honestly, if anything, it just has less options than if you were to get like a whole cable package. So this might even be better for all intents and purposes of what I'm doing this week. So it's day one. I didn't move because it's day one. Day one started like any other. I woke up, luckily. But instead of my usual routine of rolling over and immediately opening up a YouTube video, I popped over my computer and started to scroll on the TV guide to see what's going on cable this morning. I settled on Scooby-Doo for day one. Watching cartoons is actually a pretty good way to start the day in my opinion, especially older cartoons like Scooby-Doo where it's from whatever era of that version of Scooby-Doo, but usually it's pretty old. They're very understimulating and I love that. And starting my day with a positive, calm mindset is something I realize I haven't done in a long time. Obviously, if I really wanted true peace in the morning, I could read a book when I wake up, but people that do that, I'm astounded by you. I do not know how you can read a book in the morning and not immediately fall back asleep. I feel like I would never actually get out of bed. Usually I'd start my mornings by just watching a funny YouTube video, but even these YouTube videos, while they're not anything crazy, they're definitely still overstimulating. Typically they're pretty high energy, and that's fine in some cases, but sometimes like I feel like it was kicking my day off in a weird mindset. Even worse than just a YouTube video though, before whenever I had TikTok, that is just complete mental overdrive.
Mountains, because they go like... Bringing news out of the White House this afternoon is Donald J. Trump has...
Well, there's a lot of just simple, funny videos on there that could be similar to just like a morning cartoon. I feel like more so, especially with my algorithm, typically it was bombardment of like important issues, hot topics, things that are like blown out of proportion for no reason. There's usually like a cloud of negativity, or it's just a lot of think pieces. Think pieces aren't necessarily always negative, but sometimes it's like, damn, do I want a think piece at 8 in the morning before I have to go to work? Also with TikTok, because I've talked about TikToks in a lot of my videos, I go off and on when I download it. I'll download it for like 2 days and then I'll delete it again for like a week. It's very weird. So like I haven't totally gotten TikTok out of my life, even though I talk about not having it sometimes. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I remember seeing a video the other day of Brooke Schofield getting her eyelids removed or something, or her hooded eyelids removed, not her total eyelids.
This is my day one blepharoplasty update, okay? I got it yesterday morning. This is technically like the second day.
Obviously on the internet, this spurred a huge conversation about plastic surgery and how using it as some type of feminist feat isn't necessarily like the feat you think it is, and the normalization of plastic surgery kind of pushing this idea that women should get plastic surgery and this like back and forth argument, which I agree with a lot of those points. I do think that in general plastic surgery is more harm than good, but like I'm not here to talk about that right now. But my point in bringing up this topic, this hot topic that was going around, is every morning when I wake up, do I have to be contemplating 20 different controversies, think pieces as soon as I wake up? No, I think that there should be a time and place for each person when engaging with this type of material material. There's so many important issues in the world, and you could spend every waking moment thinking about these important issues to the point where it completely drains you. And I think also it can be a disservice to these issues that we're talking about, because, you know, I'll watch a groundbreaking video about the state of society, and then I swipe one more and now it's an AI cat playing basketball or something. Like, I feel with that swipe mentality and click-through mentality, we're not giving ourselves enough time to really digest what we're viewing and thinking about. And some of these topics deserve time to be dwelled on and, you know, having some real critical thought put into them. So with all that in mind, I do think starting the morning with a light cartoon or something very simple like Scooby-Doo is a great way to start the day. I feel like it's setting myself up that I'm not giving out so much mental energy as soon as I wake up, so I can give out more mental energy later in the day when I have a more clear brain. Obviously, I'm not saying spend the whole day watching Scooby-Doo, but you know what I mean, like time and place. Time and place! Another positive thing about cable I noticed on day one is that I really like that there's a lot less options, at least for this week. If I want to watch something, I have like 10 choices, and if I don't like any of that, oh well, go eat your food in silence. And these 10 choices also made it easier to decide because I'm not going to be eating my food in silence. I'm going to be watching HGTV. Something that I hate that I do sometimes is I'll sit down to eat, or I just really want to watch a TV show, and there's so many choices that I can't even choose one. And usually the more I ponder what I want to watch, whatever I end up picking, I'm like dissatisfied with it because I'm like, oh, I could have watched something better. Well, a lot of cable TV shows / movies that they have on cable aren't like the most groundbreaking thing that you could ever be watching. Sometimes it's nice just to have an easy option. So I've been sitting here watching Chopped and applying for jobs. An array of jobs. Some that are more in my field, like media type, and then some just like serving, things like that, whatever. When I was applying to this one serving job, it made me do an assessment. I screen recorded it because what is that? What is that? No, I was genuinely baffled whenever I opened the assessment. This has nothing to do with the video also. This is just like, I was so mind blown. I had to include it in somewhere. I know it's like a personality test or whatever, but why is that scary, scary AI needed? Like, just use the words. Oh my god. Anyways, I'm gonna continue watching Chopped. So on day one, I got very into watching the Food Network. In my opinion, the Food Network is a mixed bag of some really good stuff and some really not so good stuff. One show I've been enjoying a lot is Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Also, I'm gonna be calling Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives Triple D for the rest of this little portion, because saying drivers dive, like, it's a tongue twister, so it's Triple D now. Triple D has and always will be a staple of the Food Network. Oh. I really like the concept of the show, the idea of going around to different places across America and trying these hidden gems or popular spots. And when watching Triple D, I couldn't help but compare it to watching food influencers on TikTok.
I get that this is Southern Indian, so I can't expect a tikka masala on the menu.
For a while, I couldn't figure out why I felt like Triple D was so much more enjoyable than watching like foodie influencers or like restaurant critics. And then it dawned on me. The reason it's so much better than these food influencers, because a lot of the food influencers, not all, but a lot of them are just people who like going to restaurants. While shows like Triple D are hosted by people who have an extensive background as a chef, they went to culinary school, or they just know a lot about the cooking and restaurant industry. Hosts like Guy Fieri can actually connect with the chefs that they're meeting and engage with the food that they're enjoying because they actually understand it and they know how to truly appreciate it.
Delicious. That chicken isn't just regular seasoned chicken.
That's correct.
That's a 2-day brine.
And you get the smoke coming through it.
Because liking food and understanding food are two vastly different things. Do I dislike creators who are like food critics or just restaurant recommenders, things like that? No, I think it's a fun type of content. It's a great way to see, especially in your city around you, if you follow local creators. But usually it's just like trying food and saying this place is good, but not really explaining why it's super good. I think food content has been boiled down a lot online in a lot of cases. There are some really great creators that have like an understanding of the history of the restaurant, the chefs, the people, and those are some of my favorites. But I feel like usually what I see on the norm with my algorithm, it's not that. So watching people like Guy Fieri or the late Anthony Bourdain who have this deep understanding of food makes the show so much more enjoyable and also informational. Also, before you comment, I know Anthony Bourdain was never on the Food Network. I understand that. But he's getting grouped in here, even though he'd probably hate that I was grouping him in with the Food Network people. I remember there was this drama going around on TikTok where a girl said that she's the next Anthony Bourdain as a girl from New Jersey or something like that, which don't piss me off. Don't piss me off. But her, like many others, people online that give themselves this comparison to Anthony Bourdain are just so wrong. If we ever even do have someone who is similar to Anthony Bourdain again, which I'm not sure that's even possible, that person is not on TikTok. That person is deep in a kitchen running 6 to 10 burners and working a 12-hour shift right now. To wrap up the section about the Food Network, it was constantly on the TV whenever I was younger. My family was huge fans of Worst Cooks in America, and I did watch a little bit of it this week.
Kind of slicing these green onions, but in a more efficient way. Don't want to use.
And I think this is where my love for cooking comes from. Because while my mom cooked a lot and I loved her cooking, we usually had pretty similar things. She wasn't a super adventurous chef, which is totally fine. But as I've gotten older and cooked for myself, I find myself wanting to cook more adventurously. I find a lot of joy in trying new recipes, which is why I've decided to play Chopped. So I have a bit of a modified version. Instead of the traditional Chopped, we're doing 1 course instead of 3 courses. And also usually it's timed, but there's no way that I could make a dinner in under 20 minutes or whatever it is. So it's just gonna be for as long as it really takes. My lovely boyfriend Jesse bought me 5 ingredients, potentially, for me to do whatever with. So we'll see. I have no clue what's in here.
Please open your baskets.
Okay. So we have a few ingredients here. First one we have is Doritos. And then we have a mango, yeah, lemons, peppers, an assortment of peppers. And then for our main, we have catfish fillet. So that's our assortment. So with all these ingredients, thank God I'm already drinking a margarita. I think I'm gonna make catfish tacos with maybe like a mango something salsa.
I also have no clue how to tell when a mango is ripe or not.
Oh, this is not ripe. It's like white. It's supposed to be orange. Because it's not ripe, I'm gonna cook it. So I put the mangoes into water. Step 1. Don't really know if that's exactly what I'd want to be doing, but that's okay. And then I'm going to just put a bunch of sugar in it. All over. So we're gonna put that in there. I'm gonna let that do its thing until it starts boiling, I guess. After some thought, some hardcore thinking, because the pepper is what was like messing me up. I don't cook with peppers a lot, but something that I ate when I was a child was stuffed peppers. I never really liked them, which is why this didn't come to my mind immediately. So we're gonna do, we only have 1. So we're gonna split it in half and stuff the pepper, if that even counts. Lay things on top of the pepper. This is gonna be a sauce somehow. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. So I'm just gonna place these peppers on here, and I'm gonna put them in the oven for, shit, I don't know. We have some things done. Here we have salsa vibe, onion, serrano pepper, and avocado. So that'll go on top. The biggest mystery of them all, sort of like mash. It's just like a topping. I don't really know. I may or may not put habanero in it. I'm gonna start cooking the catfish, which once it's, no, you're not left in the fridge. It's off limits. So I'm now going to be introducing the catfish since it's already being cooked right now. Look away if you care about fish. Catfish is cooking. We're adding some lemon. Lemon on fish is literally my favorite thing ever. Then we're going to take these pieces, put them into the peppers that are sitting sadly over there. We're going to put some queso fresco on top. Then we're going to put the cold toppings on.
And what is this dish here? Exactly.
This is pepper with a little bit of catfish. And then on the side you have a mango glaze or jam of sorts.
Okay.
With some, I don't even want to watch you eat that. With some,
what else is on it?
Avocado, red onion, serrano peppers with some Doritos on top. The Doritos are what's making me uncomfortable, like looking at this.
Peppers cooked well, catfish cooked well. Let me get some mango jam, you said.
Nice.
Okay. It's actually not bad.
Really? Scared.
Isn't it kind of good? It's like not bad at all.
Like, do I want to eat a whole thing of that? Like, but I could.
They add a nice crunch. The
Yeah.
mango's like a little sweetness. The catfish is a good salty
That's
catfish.
a little weird.
It is a little weird. I'm not saying it's the best thing I've ever had in my life.
No, yeah, but it doesn't taste...
But it's not bad. It's got to be like top 5 craziest white people food.
Oh, yeah. On day 2, I found myself looking up the cable guide to see if any of my shows were coming up. I've grown particularly fond of watching Futurama in the morning, except South Park comes on at like 9 a.m., so usually that's my cue to get up for the day. I've been checking to see if there's any good movies playing later in the day because I don't want to miss the beginning. In general, it just reminds me of growing up, gathering around the TV to watch the season finale of Hannah Montana or watching the summer premiere of High School Musical 2.
Get on the road to High School Musical 2.
And the next day going to school and talking about it with everyone. With the rise in streaming, I feel like there's been a shift in the way community interacts with TV shows. While there is still some traditional watching, for example, when White Lotus has been coming out, people are eager for the next week to come. They're putting out their theories after the end of each episode. It's a great little online activity and in-person activity. However, with streaming, if something's dropped as a binge show, which means everything's dropped at once, it can be a hit or miss if it maintains its longevity or if it just dies off within a week. I don't really feel like one is necessarily better than the other though. Binge watching some TV shows is a better way to watch the show in general, and then sometimes it's better to watch it week by week. Like when Stranger Things had its monumental moment when season 1 and season 2 dropped. I don't think it would have had the same impact if it was released week to week, and we sort of saw that with how they dropped one part of the season and the next part of the season, even though that was for different reasons. But even so, people were really hyped for the first part of the season, and then it was less anticipated for the second part of the season. And it's not like with binge-worthy shows, it's like there's not a great cliffhanger that could have brought you back the next week. But I think certain shows, people are more inclined to watch it all at once, or they're more inclined to watch it individually each week. Like dating shows, for example, I think people enjoy the aspect of getting with your friends and watching them, and it doesn't feel as important that you know the exact next episode. Like you're willing to wait a little bit for dating shows. Obviously that's just my personal opinion, you could feel different, but I feel like with dating shows I like them more whenever I'm watching it week by week with my friends and we're like having a glass of wine, rather if I'm just like sitting in my room watching. While shows like Stranger Things, for example, again, you're probably going to be watching that by yourself in your room at 4 a.m. and you are itching to watch that next episode. You are not turning the computer off until it is completely finished. So while this is a personal preference, and I don't really feel like I have a preference to either, kind of just depends on the show, but switching back to cable reminded me of a conversation I've been seeing online recently, which is about convenience culture.
Let's talk about convenience culture and what it takes away from us. Writer Oliver Berkman puts it this way: convenience makes things easy, but without regard to whether easiness is truly what's most valuable in any given context.
When you watch cable, you don't have as much choice with what you're watching. There's limited options, or I just had to deal with the fact that I wasn't going to be watching my favorite shows or anything interesting that day because for some reason my favorite channels, Comedy Central and Cartoon Network, are both playing American Dad at the same moment. I tried to watch American Dad, I just couldn't get into it. But with streaming, I could have watched whatever show I wanted immediately at that moment. Is this some amazing feat that I was able to prove to myself that I could wait 30 minutes to watch Bob's Burgers? No. But in the past few years, a lot of people, including myself, have gotten used to getting everything they want immediately. There's no need to wait for episodes or entertainment because there's always something else to watch. You need new toothpaste? Don't worry. An app can get that to you in 30 minutes or less. Hungry? Don't worry, an app can get that to you in 30 minutes or less. Want to talk to your friends? Don't worry, 6 different apps can get that to you in 30 minutes or less. I think sometimes people, including myself, can forget that sometimes waiting for things can make it a little bit better. You don't need to have everything you want as soon as you want it. So it's day 3, and before I get into day 3, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is, what am I wearing right now? Well, it's a really comfortable flannel, and I was going to put a cuter shirt on, but then I didn't feel like doing that. So ignore this horrendous flannel that I'm wearing while we talk about day 3. So I've been watching a lot of ghost shows. Going into this video, I wanted to make it a point that I watch as many different channels as I could just to really like see what's out there. And I was excited to watch the Travel Channel because I have good memories of the Travel Channel when I was younger. However, the Travel Channel now is just like ghost hunting shows. It's almost exclusively ghost hunting shows. I'm pretty sure it is all ghost hunting shows. So as I've been watching the Travel Channel and then in turn watching a fuck ton of ghost shows, I realized that we've been missing ghost hunting content in our media. When I was younger, I used to watch Ghost Adventures a lot with my dad. Zach Baggins lives in my brain forever.
Oh God!
What are you doing? I don't know. Stop.
Stop, Zach.
And I just need to bring this up. I don't know if there's any Ghost Adventures fans out there, but whenever I was looking at the show to look up each of the names of the hosts, one of the hosts named Aaron was by his wife. His wife hired a hitman to kill him, and now she's currently on trial, which is so crazy. But back to these ghost shows. A lot of the shows have a pretty similar structure where it's like they go to a haunted place, they're either called there or they just are exploring there.
This is it. Spirits at Goatman's Bridge. We hope you welcome us.
Usually with the intention of talking to the ghost, getting questions answered, or trying to ward off the ghost, spirit, demon, entity, whatever. My favorite is the spirit box, or it's like, I don't know if it's the spirit box, it's the one that's like and like it like is using radio frequencies and it'll like spit out words and stuff, so like the ghost can use the frequencies to talk through the box. That one in my brain is one of the more unreliable versions of ghost hunting, but I think it's so creepy when it's like relevant, and also sometimes the ghost or like the words that'll ping out are like really funny.
Aaron is a highly effective trigger object.
Look at this. Look at this.
What
Look at
the
this.
hell?
Look at this.
She's grabbing him, dude.
Whoa.
Oh, she's mounted. Billy.
And then all the shows sort of end with a non-conclusion. Sometimes there is more legitimate parts of it, which is like really creepy, but usually it's kind of like the ghost is gone now, or like that was crazy. So you may be wondering, do I believe in ghosts? And I actually don't know. I cannot decide if I think that ghosts are real, but I don't know if it's like in the context that a lot of these shows have them. Because I don't think I've ever really had any ghostly experiences, but also I know people that have had ghostly experiences, but it's like I was never present for it, so like I believe them, but also I can't like take their word for it necessarily. But with ghost TV shows, I'm more inclined to believe that it is not real at all, just because it's television. And also I find it funny that like every single medium that are on these shows is like some middle-aged white woman. Yes, there definitely probably are real mediums that are middle-aged white women, but they can't all be middle-aged white women, you know? Watching these shows though, of course I feel like I have to join in on the action now. Okay. So when I was thinking of this idea, I was scrolling through Reddit, like the ghost hunting pages, to see what apps would be like reliable, and I was trying to find one that would be maybe reliable that you didn't have to pay for, because the one that most people said that was really good is $10, and I'm not spending $10 on a ghost hunting app that I'm going to delete by the end of the night probably. But either way, I settled on one that people said seemed to have good results, so I'm gonna use that. I'm already regretting this. So I guess let's try to not talk to, I don't want to talk to a ghost, but that's the whole point of this segment. How the fuck do people do this in like haunted places? Okay, I'm gonna open the app, see if anything comes out. Okay. See, I don't know if it's picking up on my voice. Ah! Okay, I'm done. Oh my god, I'm not doing that ever again. I'm turning a light on. Well, that's the end of that segment. Yeah, that was enough for me. That was like the way that scared the fuck out of me. I also like turned my volume up on my phone all the way, and I wasn't expecting it to be that loud. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. A lot of the shows on cable currently are reality TV. I love reality TV. I still watch Survivor and The Amazing Race week to week, but I've had this thought recently, even before I was doing this video, that reality TV hasn't had the same hold over society as it did in the early 2000s and before that. Obviously, reality TV is still super relevant. Channels like Bravo have had some extreme popularity over the last few years, with shows like Vanderpump Rules and The Housewives, the many variations of the Housewives shows. There's been some other big hits recently, like last summer Love Island USA was a complete cultural phenomenon. However, I feel like these shows are more of an exception than the norm. Think about the Jersey Shore in the early 2000s. I would bet that the whole cast was almost a household name when it was at its peak popularity. Also, shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. While the Kardashians were already extremely wealthy and mildly famous before the show, I would say that the show really propelled them into the fame. I'm also going to inject some Survivor here because it is one of my faves. But in season 7 of The Amazing Race, Boston, Rob, and Amber were contestants on that show. They come from Survivor, and they were a couple that met on Survivor. And when they were on The Amazing Race, almost every country they went to, from Chile to Botswana, they were instantly recognized and people were like flocking to them. They had so many fans literally all over the world. Like, it wasn't even like they were just US celebrities, they were worldwide celebrities. And I just feel like we don't really have reality TV show stars like that anymore. And I think this is for a few reasons. The first is I feel like we just have way more options to watch a regular person as entertainment as compared to the early 2000s. In the past, we would gather around our TVs to watch Snooki getting arrested on the beach.
Nicole! Where the is the beach?
And now we have influencers giving us story times about how they were getting arrested at the beach. Do I think this difference really matters? No, but I do think it's interesting to see the shift that's almost inevitable when it comes to social media becoming more popular. I feel like the rise of the social media influencer really coincided with the fall of the reality TV star. I think another reason for this fall of reality TV was I feel like people now can really see through reality TV. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion to say that a lot of people that go on these shows like The Bachelor or like Too Hot to Handle go on because they want to grow their internet online persona. Because usually if you go on these shows, you'll gain a small but loyal following, and it's a good way to just kind of like get your name out there. So being able to kind of see through this facade, if you want to see a real person doing real things, you're going to turn to social media. However, with this in mind, sometimes the perfect storm happens with reality TV. Let's use Love Island USA, the last season that came out last summer, as an example. Before the last season, Love Island USA was kind of just seen as a boring knockoff of Love Island UK. If people even knew that there was a USA version. Most people who went on the USA version would maybe gain like, what, 10,000 Instagram followers. Like, you weren't really getting the clout that you'd be getting if you went on like the UK show or some other reality TV shows. So while some of the most recent casts might have went on the show with the hopes of just getting some reality TV time, you know, getting their name out there, I would be more inclined to believe that they went on with the intention of having fun, going on some fun dates, dating other hot people, and actually wanting to form a genuine connection. Which tracks because multiple couples from that season are still together. In general, I feel like they would have no reason to believe that going on that show was gonna really like put them into the limelight the way it did. In recent years, at least shows that I've watched, watching Love Island USA last season felt so genuine and it made it so much more enjoyable. The next season of Love Island USA, however, depending on when they cast it and filmed it, I feel like we're gonna be seeing a lot of people that are just hoping to get that same Leah 1 million followers in 3 weeks stardom. I predict we're going to be seeing a lot of more influencer type people, and which in turn is going to make the viewers be like, boo, this season fucking sucks. So I guess like my conclusion with this portion of the video is that reality TV still can work really well today, but it's just harder to find really good casts. Because when it works, oh, it works and I love it, but more often than not, it kind of feels phony and overproduced and people that just want to be on TV. Now, with all that in mind, let's take a moment to bow our heads in respect for some of the most iconic moments, fights, and people that have been on reality TV in the past.
Rachel, everything about you is a lie. Your boobs are a lie, your face is a lie. The only thing honest about you is the pimples on your chin.
I can slap the shit out of you.
Do it! Slap me, bitch! Fucking whore, you mother!
And would you stop taking pictures of yourself? Your sister's going to jail.
So day 6, I decided to watch the news. Not gonna be doing that again. I should say some of the mainstream news. I think this week I'm just gonna stick to reading articles. With this portion of the video, I just wanted to remind everyone to diversify where you get your news from, and also make sure that you are spreading accurate information, and that it's important to spread information that the mainstream news might not be showing. Winding down my week of watching cable TV, I decided to do something. I decided to watch something that I never, ever watch. I decided to watch a sports game. So let's talk about sports. While I don't really understand the appeal of watching sports, as I was raised in a household with pretty much all women except for my father, and we didn't usually watch sports ever, it kind of makes it hard for me now to get into the idea of watching sports. But overall, I see the appeal of sports, and I guess more so I see the appeal of sports culture. This sports culture, though, has a lot of upsides and a lot of downsides. It's such a fun community event that millions of people participate in each year, and it's fun to root for your team, go to the stadium, or hang out with your friends on a Sunday, drink a beer, eat nachos or whatever. And I get that. That sounds like a fun day to me. But this same culture can also incite this very toxic reaction when teams win or lose. Especially now that sports betting has been heavily integrated even into just watching sports. People were already emotionally invested in their teams winning or losing, sometimes going as far as flipping and burning cars. And And so now when you mix in sports betting, it also gives them this financial incentive and like personal vendetta against teams and other fans whenever your team loses. But Drew Gooden basically made a whole video on that. If you're watching this, you probably already watched that. So I'm not even going to talk much more about that. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's one of my favorite videos ever. My strongest opinion about sports, I would say, is the argument that people have made over the years that it's a really crazy double standard when it comes to fandom when you compare grown men versus like teenage girls or literally anyone else. You can have grown men fist fighting because their team lost, but God forbid a teenage girl screams when she sees her favorite celebrity. As we've seen time and time again, anyone having any reaction to a celebrity, you're gonna get clowned to death for it. I don't know. I don't really have much else to say about sports, but I feel like I need to give it an honest chance to see what the sports fans see. And also, I really just want a hot dog.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
So it started raining really, really hard. Also, we were sitting in someone else's seats on accident, but then they came up, so we had to move. So now we're gonna go look for a hot dog. Also, we switched jackets. We'll get a video of the hot dog. Okay. Classic Chicago dog here. I don't F with pickles like that, so I was thinking in my head this would more be the experience of me sitting in the stand, you know, the hot dog guy goes by, I say, hot dog, please, throw me a hot dog, and he throws it to me, and it's a great moment. But this is good enough, so we'll try. It's good, but I kind of wished it was like in a piece of tin foil. It's really cold. We got rained out from a lightning delay, so I don't know if it's ever even gonna like start again, so I guess we'll see. TBD. So it's the final day. Do I feel like my life has been drastically changed by only watching cable TV? I think my primary takeaway is that it gave me a chance to compare and contrast the way I consume media on the regular. There's a lot of positive and negative parts of cable, streaming, and social media. A good part of cable was that I was forced to go outside of what I would typically consume because I didn't have as much of a choice with it all. And I found some really fun shows to watch, and also it made me do some silly little activities. It also encouraged me when there was nothing on that I wanted to watch to just turn my computer off and put my phone down and go outside or do something else, because I knew I couldn't keep searching. I was limited to my 10 or 15 channels and that was it. However, there are some downsides to cable. One of my main things I don't like about cable is everything is very intentionally produced and it's pretty tame to what you could see on streaming services or social media. And it's not like I like to watch gory, crazy things where there's people's heads exploding, but nothing is really groundbreaking. So I was looking forward this week to break my overstimulation. At times I found myself understimulated. Can't have everything, you know? But it was a nice break for a week. I do feel a little out of the loop though. Obviously trends, news, everything cycles through so fast with social media. And I don't think it's good to necessarily live in a bubble where you're just watching HGTV all the time and just the only thing you think about is which house are they gonna pick? Like, it's important to have some critical thought within your day. On the other side, something I really like about streaming and social media like YouTube is you can choose what you want to watch. There were certain days whenever I was watching Bob's Burgers on Cartoon Network or Comedy Central, I can't remember which one it's on, but I love Bob's Burgers, and it would end and I'd be like, damn, but I want to watch the next episode though, but I couldn't, so then I had to go do something else. But I think there could be a good middle ground for it all. As for my final conclusion, I don't know, it was kind of fun.